All right, what's going on, everybody? So with today's video, we're doing a push workout emphasizing shoulders and triceps. Now, with this, we're going to go through a little bit more detail than we usually would. So we're starting off with a good dynamic warm-up, lots of stretching, going through with some really light weight, just warming up every single head of the shoulders. The whole point of this workout is going to be pushing blood. We're going to be looking at blood flow, pump, and just kind of burning the muscle out. This is going to be a good one to change things up. We're not going to be going super heavy. We're going to be focusing a lot on volume. So before we get into the actual workout, we need to make sure that we are as warmed up as possible. Usually what I'll do is I'll go through about 10, maybe even 15 minutes of just nice continuous dynamic movements, lightweight, high repetition, and just focusing on, like I said, filling the muscles up, warming up the joints, warming up everything, getting it all pumped and going. That's another reason I've got my hoodie on. I like to call it the pump cover, just trying to get a nice sweat going, get a good blood flow going. And yeah, like I said, just warming everything up. It's a huge key critical point to ensuring, one, muscle activation once we get into the actual workout. I want to be able to just start right out the gate, just smash and go. So with this, we're going to be really focusing on a lot of volume and pushing as much blood as possible. So we're going to be starting off with a superset between Smith machine behind the neck press, as you can see here. With this one, just kind of keeping the weight light to start, warming up into the movement, getting a good feel for it. You want to try and avoid going too crazy on this one because you are putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. So if you go too heavy and you lose control of the weight, you're going to end up hurting yourself. That neck or that bar can come down and smash your neck, smash your shoulders, tear your joints up. You want to be really careful with this one. So if you guys have any kind of pain with this type of movement, just do a standard either dumbbell seated overhead press, barbell overhead press, regular Smith machine. Don't worry about going behind the neck. This is just what I was feeling today. I like this movement because it puts a little more emphasis on the rear and the lateral heads of the delt as opposed to a standard military press or standard barbell press, which puts more emphasis on the front head of the delt. So with that one, did 4 sets of around 8 to 12 reps, just kind of warming up, like I said, and then supersetting it with a standing dumbbell lateral raise. Now in this one, we're gonna be going a little bit heavier. So I wanna go for kind of a pyramid style scheme, and I'm gonna be starting out with around 10 to 12 reps, and then I'm gonna be working up to around like 12, 15, and increasing the weight as I go. So I know that sounds counterintuitive. Usually when you think pyramid, you think increase the weight, decrease the reps. Well, we're gonna start out lower weight, keep the reps kind of moderate to high, but we're gonna be increasing the weight and trying to increase reps at the same time. Now the way we're gonna do this is by doing rest pauses. So essentially you kind of saw as I'm going through, I basically stop, let my hands hang, stretch everything out a little bit, maybe twist my hands, twist the dumbbells, let it really stretch the muscles out for a couple seconds, then I pump out a couple more reps. I do that a few times in order to basically push past failure. And I do that for 4 sets, like I said, superset with the behind the neck press, and just trying to pump freaking blood into those shoulders, trying to fill up those caps, get some really nice caps on them, work on that V taper, that really wide upper body. That's the goal with this workout, is change things up, push a lot of blood, high volume, high repetition, high intensity, and just try and freaking work the muscle. So once I finished that, then I moved into some front raises. Now with this, you'll see me change my hand position, or not necessarily my hand position, but kind of how I'm lifting the dumbbell as I go through the reps. So essentially what I do is we're doing about 15-ish reps per arm, and usually about halfway through, so when I hit around 7 reps or so, instead of going from basically lifting with your thumb straight up or your palms facing each other, pinkies towards the ground, I start to transition more into a palms facing the ground. So basically supinate my grip Yeah, I think that's the right one. I really just need to look this up more often and just kind of try to remember it more. But anyway, supinate my grip once I'm about halfway through my reps. And what that'll do is it's going to change the dynamics of how you're working the muscle. So if you notice, when I'm doing more of just kind of a neutral grip here, what I'm actually trying to really work is that tie-in between the chest and the front delt, versus the second I start supinating that grip, turning my palms towards the ground and I'm raising, it's going to start tying in a little bit more of the lateral head of the delt. And again, we're doing the same thing here as we did on those lateral raises. We're going to stretch, let it pause for a second, really just kind of let the blood flow and recuperate a little bit more strength, take a rest pause, and then pump out a couple more reps. Do that a few times in order to hit around 12 to 15, maybe even 20 reps per set. And we're going to be doing, again, about 4 sets of this movement. This is a great one to really just kind of work that roundness of the front head of the delt. So once I finished that, then I moved into some seated bent over reverse flies. Got to hit the rear delts. Want to make sure that our delts look good from every single angle. We're trying to hit every single head of the muscle, really round them out. And with this one, not going super heavy, really just focusing on that form. A lot of people will tend to go too heavy and they'll end up doing more of a row. But I'm actually kind of doing a mechanical drop set is what I like to call it. So I start out pretty strict form, and then once I start hitting failure, you can see I'm actually transitioning into more of a bent over upright dumbbell. Well, not bent over upright. That's two contradictory things, but a bent over upright. Oh my gosh, I said it again. A bent over row, so a rear delt focused row. So I go from doing the standard bent over reverse fly, and then once I start hitting that failing point where I start feeling like I have to use a lot of momentum in order to get the weight up, then I'm going to start transitioning into more of a row. And again, I'm just trying to basically transition the movement from something that's more difficult into something that's a little bit easier without dropping the weight and without changing too much of the movement. So the dynamics are going to be fairly similar. We're still going to be targeting the same muscle group, but it's basically just mechanically easier to perform more of an upright row or perform more of a rowing movement as opposed to a flying movement. So going from that fly into the row is basically a way of dropping the intensity but without dropping the weight. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. But we're going to continue with the rear delts, and we're going to be doing a superset between two different types of cable face pulls. So as you saw at the start of this, I basically am leaning forward a little bit. I'm pulling above my head and really trying to emphasize a little bit more my traps and my rear delts. And then I transitioned just into a standard cable face pull. Did about 3 sets of 12 to 15 there. And then we moved into just a little bit of chest. So this overall workout is going to be focused primarily on shoulders and triceps, but it is a push day, so I wanted to hit a little bit of chest, just kind of push all the blood everywhere into my upper body as much as possible. So did 4 sets of around 8 to 12 on incline dumbbell bench, really just focusing on slow, controlled form, stretch the chest out at the bottom, drive it up, squeeze. So yeah, this was a really good workout. Overall, like I said, the whole purpose behind this is to just hit the muscles from every single angle we can possibly hit it from and just try and round out the shoulders. Now, once we finished off with chest here, then we're going to start hitting some triceps. But on this movement, as I said, just real slow. Control that weight. Drive up, stretch down. Nothing crazy about this. All right, into the first tricep movement, doing seated overhead dumbbell extension. Now with this one, few key points. First of all is you want to focus on your elbow position. A lot of people will tell you to keep your elbows in as tight as possible, and that's what I used to think as well. But the thing is, it tends to be almost more well, not necessarily difficult, but it almost puts more stress on your elbows and on your tendons and on your joints trying to do that. So what I do is I just find a comfortable position to keep my elbows at. I'm not trying to let them flare out too much, but I'm also not focusing on keeping them in like smashed up against my ears or anything. Just a nice comfortable position in order to allow me to hit a proper range of motion. So from here, I'm trying to break parallel with my forearms and with my upper arms. And that's really gonna enable a greater range of motion, allow me to really stretch the triceps out and then lock out my elbows at the top, or at the very least, try and get as close to lockout as possible and pump that rep. Just squeeze. You can see a little bit at the top of the range of motion. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a pump. What I'm doing there is I'm really focusing on squeezing and popping the triceps in order to push extra blood into them. Now, once I finished that, then I moved into a close grip barbell bench press, focusing again on those triceps. I will say on the overhead extension, I did 4 sets of around 10 to 12 reps, kind of going a little bit heavier there, focusing on the form. Then moved into close grip bench. And on this one, this is where we're doing a lot of our volume for triceps. Well, basically all of our volume for triceps, because this was the last movement of the day. And we're doing 5 sets of around 12-ish reps. Go heavier if you need to, go lighter, whatever you want to do. I was focusing around 12 reps, really controlling the form, trying not to go too crazy, and really just trying to isolate those triceps. This is one of those movements where, again, people will tell you a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to do it. I tend to like my grip position kind of just outside of my shoulders. So I'm not like a super narrow grip, because that's going to be put a lot of stress on your wrists and your tendons there, versus a nice kind of more neutral grip right around shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider. It's going to allow you to just stay in a nice comfortable position in order to activate those triceps. So that was the workout. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But overall, really damn good. As always, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.